Cuphead, one of the most memorable indie games of 2017, created by MDHR Studio, is a 2D run-and-gun action game with hand-drawn graphics inspired by 1930s cartoons, mostly known for its unique characters, gameplay mechanics, and difficulty. The story is pretty simple. The main characters, Cuphead and Mugman, make a bet with the devil himself but lose, owing him their souls. After begging him to spare them, the devil sends Cuphead and Mugman on a quest to collect the souls of other debtors, and if they succeed, he might just let them keep theirs. The goal of the game is to defeat a series of unique bosses to ultimately confront the devil himself. After 7 years of development, the game got released on September 29th of 2017. 1,000 of players tried their best to beat the game, but some people quickly became interested in beating the game as fast as they possibly could. This is Mr. Dino023, and in collaboration with Luigi100 and SVD Wolf, this is Cuphead World Record Progression All Bosses Legacy. Cuphead's speedrunning scene emerged really quickly, just a couple of days after the game was released. There was immediately a huge interest for speedrunners and multiple people gathered together to run the game and find new tricks. But before talking about the first speedruns of the game, we need to introduce the first glitch to be discovered, which defined how Cuphead was run, and explain the timing method which is used in Cuphead speedruns. The weapon swap glitch was found by Fireborn on September 30th, just the day after Cuphead's release. By rapidly swapping weapons, players could shoot bullets from both weapons at the same time, thus almost doubling the damage output. Thanks to this trick, speedrunners were not only able to beat bosses more quickly, but a lot of future tricks and glitches were found thanks to this exploit. About the timing method, you see, Cuphead got released for PC and Xbox One. However, most people ran it on PC, and the problem about this platform is that loading times can be different depending on the PC's specs. The way most PC games get around it is by using time without loads. LiveSplit, which is the standard timer used for PC games, can detect if the game is in a loading state and stop the timer. This way, people could compete on the same level, eliminating the unfairness of loading times. Thanks to Devil Squirrel, a load remover as well as an auto splitter, which can split automatically, got created for LiveSplit. However, Xbox runners weren't able to use load removal, and instead they could only use real time, which was way worse since loading times were inconsistent. For this reason, PC became the best platform to play on. Initially, there were only two categories, all bosses and any percent, which were called any percent good ending and any percent bad ending when they were first created. The only difference back then was that the former fought all bosses, including the devil at the end, while the latter skipped his fight by accepting his deal and getting the bad ending. The all bosses category quickly became more popular, and it's the one that is still most actively played today. Because of it, this world record progression is just going to focus on this category. Also note that the records have been beaten more times than the ones covered in this progression, but most of them are poorly documented, so we're not going to talk about them. The first documented speedrun of this category was done by WellDisoTV with a time of 34:32. WellDiso's run was very different from the speedruns we know today, but it was good enough to show the potential of this game and define how speedruns will look in the future. At the start of his run, WellDiso went to 2 run-and-gun stages, Forest Follies and Treetop Trouble, so that he could collect 12 coins and use them to buy 3 weapons, Spread, Lover and Charge. Each of those worked better in different situations, so WellDiso was changing his weapon loadout multiple times during the run according to the boss he was facing. After getting the soul contracts, he was able to get to the casino to beat King Dice, the devil's right-hand man, and then beat the devil himself. Just 3 days after the game's release, WellDiso managed to beat the game in under 35 minutes, but this was just the beginning. The next day, a new runner, Frozen Dose, beat WellDiso's time by 2 minutes, mostly thanks to better optimization and less deaths, but his run was noteworthy for the route he followed. Frozen Dose completed 1 run-and-gun stage, gathering 8 coins and only buying 2 weapons, Roundabout and Lover. This became the definitive weapon combination to abuse the weapon swap glitch with, and it's still used to this day. There are a few reasons why this is most powerful set of weapons. Both of them deal good damage. They can both be used at middle range. They can create damage traps on multiple bosses, and on top of that, the slower fire rate doesn't require fast smashing of the weapon swap button, making it easier to optimal damage the bosses. With those weapons, he was able to take down bosses from a longer distance, making attacks easier to dodge and ending up with only 1 death and a couple of fast retries. 2 days later, another new runner took the record, Grande M, with a time of 31:55. Even though it wasn't a big improvement over Frozen Doses time, a lot of new strategies were executed during the run, starting from small ones like Acorn Skip, which required clipping under the ground to skip the Acorn Maker in Forest Follies. This trick doesn't look hard, but it's close to frame perfect, and many runners refuse to use this clip for a long time just to save 4 seconds. 2 big glitches were also found, Beppy and Dragon Glitch. Beppy Glitch was found by Dalmikan, while Dragon Glitch was discovered by Evil Rainbow. Both of them work in the same way. Each boss is separated in phases represented by flags on the stat screen. If enough damage is dealt to clear multiple phases in one, certain bosses can glitch out. And in Beppy the Clown and Green Matchstick's case, they cannot transform to the next phase, instead getting frozen and skipping some transition periods where they normally would be unhittable. Dragon Glitch only makes the fight easier, but in the case of Beppy, it skips 2 long boss transitions, saving around 20 seconds. So thanks to those new strats, the time had been pushed even more, but there was still a lot more to come. The next day, another runner decided to give it a shot, Cosmic Sense. He lowered the time by another 2 minutes, getting a time of 29:40 and achieving the first documented run in under half an hour. He saved a couple of seconds in Calamaria's fight by staying close to her to dodge her petrifying gaze, but other than that, the run simply had better execution. 2 days later, yet another new runner, Namki, decided to join in. Thanks to some community research, some hidden off-screen hitboxes were found on 3 bosses, Grim, allowing for an easier Dragon Glitch, Sally Stage Play, and the Devil. Namki was able to get a new world record of 28:53 using these discoveries and better execution, but that didn't discourage Cosmic Sin and he got his world record back, cutting the time down by another half minute. Thanks to the popularity of the game, new runners kept coming in, and yet again the world record got beaten by a newcomer, Distortion 2. He used a new trick on King Dice's fight, Monkey Skip. Up to this point, people usually fought the 8-ball as the third mini-boss, but this glitch allowed a usually really long mini-boss, Mr. Shimes, to be defeated in mere seconds, as well as saving a dice roll on the board. The fight is normally a game of memory, but by flipping the cards with precise timing and scrolling the screen in the opposite direction, the monkey could be clipped out of bounds and killed instantly. Using this trick, he managed to beat the previous world record by 7 seconds, getting a time of 28:19. But just the day after, on the 10th of October, the world record got beaten by a new challenger once again. The new world record holder is someone you might recognize, the Mexican runner, known for his Battletoads speedruns and his Nesmania project. Mostly thanks to even better execution, he managed to push the time down by another half minute, getting a final time of 27:47. During his run, he notably nailed a newly found trick in Hildeberg's fight, known as Hilda Glitch. If done correctly, Hilda would freeze in one of her transformation phases until the end of the fight. The advantage of executing this trick is that it skips the final phase transition, where Hilda is invincible and invulnerable to attacks. On average, getting this glitch saves around 8 seconds. While this sounds very similar to Beppy Glitch, it's not. The game actually programmed to skip the phase if Hilda gets overdamaged. The glitch only happens if the transformation phase gets cleared right as it begins. As such, this was and still is one of the hardest tricks to execute in the run. The glitch had been found very early on by Dumilcan, but it was thought to require the use of weapon swap glitch, which was impossible to perform at that point of the run, since mini bombs were not obtainable until Isle 2. But later on, Mr. Dino023 found out that it was possible to perform it with the pea shooter alone, and thus in full game speedruns. While a setup for the freeze which involved using the super meter to determine how much damage had been dealt to Hilda was developed, random minion spawns and different attack patterns could interfere with it, so it was one of the rarest tricks to see in a run. But that didn't stop TMR, and he became the first person to get a world record using this glitch. So as we know, there were 7 runners who had been world record holders to this point: Welliso, Frozen Dose, Grande Amp, Cosmic Sense, Namki, Distortion 2, and the Mexican runner. But only 3 of those runners were able to push the world record time further down. Although the other runners kept running the game, they weren't able to get the world record in their hands ever again. And at this point, the big battle between those runners had started. Each of them wanted to take the record and bring the time lower. People got excited and streams and highlights were watched as never before. The grind had begun. The time was getting pushed more and more, and runners started to add new strategies to their runs. The boss order in Isle 2 got changed from Beppy, Jimmy, Baroness, Wally, Grimm into Baroness, Jimmy, Beppy, Wally, and Grimm. It doesn't look like a faster route, but if you're picking up mini bombs for plane levels, it's actually faster. The shop glitch, found by Palladion, started to be used. By buying an item and leaving the shop at the same time, it's possible to perform both actions simultaneously, saving a couple of seconds. A new hidden hitbox on Beppy the Clown's fight was discovered, which allows runners to attack the boss during the phase transitions with a roundabout to speed up the fight. Finally, on King Dice, runners also changed the route, realizing that Chip's Bettigan's fight was faster than Mr. Whizz's The Cigar Boss. Thanks to those new strats, TMR beat the world record by an additional 3 seconds. At this point, Distortion 2 abandoned world record attempts in Cuphead, but TMR and Cosmic Sense weren't done just yet. Yet another hidden hitbox had been found by Kane. This time it was in Jimmy the Great fight. It's out of bounds below the stage, meaning that it's only possible to hit it by shooting mini bombs at it. Cosmic Sense used this discovery in his next run, which combined with better fights became a world record once again. TMR also used this hitbox, but he exploited it to the next level. Similarly to other bosses, overdamaging Jimmy before the sarcophagus phase can freeze him there, saving a lot of time in phase transitions. This glitch had been known about for a while, but the hidden hitbox made it realistic to get in full game runs. The problem about this freeze is how risky it is to survive, because for an optimal damage output, TMR needed to stay close to the sarcophagus, but he could randomly get hit by mummies really easily, so going for this freeze was extremely risky. Regardless, TMR managed to survive this glitch, but he wasn't done just yet. A new big glitch was also found, Robot Fast Kill. Originally founded by Giannis and optimized by the whole community. Dr. Call's robot's first phase is about destroying 3 parts of the robot to uncover the heart, and after destroying it, the second phase is supposed to start, but for some reason, finishing off the heart with a bomb EX messes with the damage calculation in such a way that it instantly gets the knockout. This glitch was a huge discovery, allowing to beat what used to be a very difficult boss in mere seconds. TMR made use of this glitch and pushed the time in under 26 minutes. At this point, no new tricks and strats were found for a long time, so TMR and Cosmic Sense kept pushing their times for the next few weeks, using the same strategies and trying to outperform each other. Now people were waiting for Cosmic Sense to do his next move, but surprisingly a new runner appeared on the scene, K-Prime. No new strategies, no new glitches, just better execution over TMR's runs got him the world record by 3 seconds. Just 2 days later, TMR struck back with his first sub 55. Such a big time save came from a quick kill on Rumor Honeybottom. If you get the middle attack first, you can get the knockout in that same attack, saving up to 7 seconds on the transition periods. It's really tough to execute and it's pretty rare to get the right attack in the first place, but TMR managed to do it, saving a bunch of time over his PB. After 46 days, the Cuphead speedrunning community managed to find an impressive amount of strategies, glitches and tricks, and thanks to multiple runners, the game got optimized to the point where people believed sub 25, which got achieved by TMR, was going to be the best last milestone the game would see. But a new big glitch was just around the corner. A trick which could, when optimized, save multiple minutes over the course of the run, but was so scary and hard to execute that it became the biggest nightmare for Cuphead speedrunners. A new era of Cuphead speedrunning was just about to begin. Thanks to K-Prime, Smile-Savitsuki, and Jason2890, a new trick was found, the pause glitch. By killing a boss and pausing the game at the same time, the pause menu can be pulled up during the knockout, which can be used to restart the fight and exit to map right after. Why does this trick save time? Normally, after beating a boss, you need to wait a few seconds for the screen to fade out, see through the results credit, and watch the victory and path opening cutscene. But by restarting the fight after getting the knockout, all of those things get skipped, potentially saving 14 seconds per boss. But the catch was, it could only be executed on the first boss, the root pack. Thanks to this trick and good execution in the rest of the run, K-Prime was able to get a 24:56, 1 second behind world record. But that was just at the beginning. After more research, the pause glitch evolved into the menu glitch. Runners found out that if you get hit by anything during the parry animation and press the pause button at the same time, the pause screen is going to appear and the game will keep running in the background, which means that you can still beat the boss with the added benefit of being able to use the same trick as before. The pause glitch, which allows to restart the fight after the knockout and exit to map. This trick works everywhere except for plane levels, meaning that the potential time save is 14 seconds over each of the 15 stages where it can be executed. 14 bosses and 1 run and gun, which amounts to 3.5 minutes. But in practice, this trick was very hard to execute for 3 reasons. 1. Performing this glitch would require to lose 1 HP, making the fight more difficult. 2. The pause menu would usually be up during the most of the fight, making it harder to see what's going on. And finally, after the glitch had been executed, the player was controlling both Cuphead and the menu at the same time, so they had to be careful not to accidentally hit retry, exit to map, or activate VSync in the options, which was banned for causing time inconsistencies. Considering that the default buttons to confirm and close the menu are bound to jump and EX move, 2 very commonly used buttons, it was extremely difficult to navigate the menu and play at the same time. There was a workaround which involved remapping those actions to other buttons, but for many runners this was very uncomfortable. This new trick quickly became a nightmare for runners and most people didn't run the game with this glitch. It wasn't only tough to execute during the whole run, but also took out the fun part of running the game, changing the way it was played drastically. But some people didn't give up and decided to use this new trick to get their times lower. 3 days after K-Prime's run, Namki got a 24:55, officially tying the world record. Even though this run had many mistakes and a few deaths, the time saved from the menu glitch compensated for that, showing the big potential of this new trick. K-Prime was also practicing the menu glitch, and 2 weeks later, after a lot of practice, he was able to beat the world record by over 1 minute. Viewers wanted to see more of the menu glitch, putting pressure on TMR. Even though he didn't like the new trick, he decided to try to learn it, execute it in a run, and get a world record back from K-Prime. And a week later, his patience and dedication paid off, and he was able to get the record back with a time of 23:15. At this point, no one else wanted to play this category. The majority of the runners didn't want to use the menu glitch. This trick was slowly killing the game. So, after a lot of discussion, the menu glitch was banned from all main categories and a new one was created for it, All Bosses Menu Glitch. Today, this category doesn't exist anymore, and instead the menu glitch had been relegated to the any percent category, which sees very little activity, for those who doubted the menu glitch's malicious effects. Anyway, after the ban, the All Bosses world record went back to TMR's 24:55, but top runners still didn't run this category for almost a month. All Bosses regular didn't get touched for some time. Even though TMR's time of 23:15 got moved to another category, he still was holding the world record with his 24:55. And people believe this was the perfect run, as it has good execution and not too many mistakes. But the game was still fresh, runners kept practicing and newcomers were still joining, and one of those runners was Luigi100. He had been running the game from pretty much the beginning, but choosing to focus on other side categories instead. After the menu glitch got banned, Luigi decided to give the All Bosses category another shot, and to his surprise, his runs were pretty close to the world record, so he decided to grind this category even more. No new strats, no new glitches, the goal was just to have better execution than TMR. And after 2 weeks, his effort paid off, and he got a new world record for the category with a time of 24:43. After coming back from AGDQ, TMR was immediately back to the grind and he had a few new tricks up his sleeves. On Ribby and Krog's fight, the best attack pattern was thought to be this one, where Ribby sends out a series of punches, and the other attack, the Fly's attack, was thought to be too short to skip phase 2, which would give them invincibility for a longer period of time. But it was later discovered that by getting a longer version of the Fly's attack and tanking them, the phase 2 skip was still possible, allowing for an even lower time, as well as improving the consistency of the fight. Another small time save came from Baroness Bon Bon Bon. Instead of staying to the left, creating a roundabout trap from a safe distance, he decided to come closer to the castle instead of creating a full damage trap which killed minions faster at the cost of taking 1 health point per damage boost. But that still wasn't enough. TMR was struggling to beat his previous time. Thankfully, during some discussion with Luigi, they came up with one more strategy, ignoring parable objects during fights. Normally when parrying ping objects, bullets or minions, you get bonus cards which you can use for additional EX moves, but each of those parries created a small amount of screen lag, each losing a 1/6 of a second, but more importantly on the results screen, the game counts how many parries have been executed during the fight to reward the player with a higher grade. But if none happened during the fight, the parry section would get completely skipped, saving around 1 second on each results screen. TMR is starting to ignore parryable stuff on most short and easy bosses, saving a few additional seconds during the run. After a few days, he claimed the world record once again with a time of 24:39. This short battle was looking promising, but after this run, the category once again didn't get touched for a long time. The main reason for that was a patch which got released on the 2nd of December, fixing some important glitches like the weapon swap glitch. While the two versions of the game got separated in Legacy, the original one, and current patch, people's focus shift away from the former to focus on the newer one, further incentivized by the upcoming All Bets Are Off, Cuphead's first tournament, which was going to be played on current patch. Still, Legacy wasn't completely forgotten, with a few active runners opting to stick to that version, but TMR's world record wouldn't get challenged for quite a while. After a few months, Legacy runs started to gain traction again. Luigi 100 was back to the attempts, and on the 10th of April, he tied TMR's world record with another 24:39, and just the day after, he officially beat it with a time of 24:37. He had a new tricks at his disposal. One was a more reliable way to skip phase 2 on Rivian Croak's fight with the flies pattern. It had been discovered that by standing close to the frogs and docking, both targets could be hit at the same time. It was thought to only provide extra super meter, but that was enough to make the phase 2 skip more consistent and, more importantly, possible even with the shortest attack pattern. And the second one was a new way of going through Jimmy the Great's pillar phase. A few people realized using Plane's EX on the pillar phases dealt more damage, making the fight a few seconds faster. But this record didn't stand for long. The day after, a runner by the name of Kurter was streaming attempts. While he was a very respected runner with a personal best of 25:05 at the time, he wasn't considered a major world record contender and he wasn't going for it. His objective that day was to get a sub 25, and he surely did. This world record came as a surprise to everyone, including Luigi 100, who was watching live and decided to get back to the attempts immediately. So, how long do you think Kurter's record stood for? 1 week? A few days? No. An hour later, Luigi 100 reclaimed the #1 spot with a 24:30. At this point, people started wondering if a sub-24 run would be possible. It seemed quite a long shot from the world record, but top runner Sum of Best indicated that it was barely possible. Still, no one thought it would happen anytime soon. 2 weeks later, on April 25th, the world record got beaten by a new face, SBD Wolf. He was purely a current patch runner, but around March he decided to start playing Legacy. He caught up with all the tricks pretty quickly, getting a sub 25 after a few weeks and eventually working his way to the top, getting a time of 24:26. His run didn't have any notable new tricks, it had simply solid execution throughout. 2 weeks later, Kurter would get the world record back in his hands again with a 24:24, which stood for a week before Wolf beat it by 1 second with a 24:23. Then, on May 31st, he beat his own time by quite a bit, getting a 24:11. He had multiple new small strategies at his disposal. On the first boss, the root bag, it was discovered that when the potato was invincible at the start of the fight for a brief amount of time. So he used a roundabout trap to optimize his damage and save half a second. After getting the Hilda glitch, Wolf started to use plain EX instead of a nuke. If they were timed correctly, they could deal enough damage to be better than the latter option, saving a few seconds. Finally, on Wally Warble's fight, a new trick was found by 2C+. Normally, after defeating the baby bird, Wally comes back up on a stretcher after a few seconds wait, but by quickly pausing and unpausing during the phase transition, he comes up instantly, saving around 3 seconds. After this run, the whole community realized how feasible sub-24 actually was at the point, so 2 runners decided to attempt their best to get it first, SBD Wolf and Luigi 100. Both of those runners were highly skilled and experienced, but the times were starting to get pretty optimized, meaning that RNG on boss patterns was starting to matter quite a bit, but that didn't stop those runners and the big race started. 2 weeks later, Luigi caught up with Wolf, and on the 14th of June, he got a world record time of 24:09. A highlight of his run was a new strategy pioneered by Kalaman Hera. On Beppis the Clown fight, he led to the discovery that if Blubber EX get used on that hidden hitbox to the left, they deal double the normal amount of damage, saving a small amount of time. Just 4 days later, Wolf tied the world record getting a 24:09 of his own, and 2 weeks later, on the 25th of June, he officially got it back with a 24:05. This run had good enough execution to beat the sub 24, but he lost 7 seconds on Rumor Honeybottom's fight, by far the biggest RNG dependent time save, as well as a few other RNG dependent time losses such as the attack pattern on Hildeberg and the minion selection on Baroness Bon Bon Bon. But notably, Wolf added a newly found trick to the run, found by Luigi 100. On plain stages, it's normally impossible to swap weapons while using an EX, but it turns out that it's possible by pressing the EX and weapon swap button at the same time. And when this trick is performed, regular bullets coming out during the EX animation, increasing the damage output and saving a few seconds over the entire run. This trick is really hard to perform with the default button scheme, and so far only Wolf was able to add it to full runs. But then, a few weeks later, on the 6th of July, Wolf got on a run that was looking really good. He was in sub 24 pace before even entering Rumor Honeybottom's fight. If he got the middle pattern, his run would have had really high chances to beat the sub 24. He was now 14 seconds ahead of his personal best. He lost a bit of time on the next few bosses, but he still entered the Phantom Express fight 9 seconds ahead. And then, this happened. What happened in this run was an extremely rare softlock that can happen after the twin phase on the Phantom Express fight. The causes for it are still unknown, and interestingly enough, after Wolf's run, more people started to get this otherwise really uncommon glitch. Anyway, almost a month after a previous world record, Luigi 100 tried it with a 24:05 of his own, and then beat it 2 days later, on the 25th of July, getting a 24:02. It now seemed like the top 24 was going to happen very soon. And surely enough, the day after, Luigi got a really good run. He had a bit of a poor Wally Warbles fight, but other than that, the RNG and execution this run had were good enough to give him a solid lead entering Rumor Honeybottom's fight. All he had to do was get the middle pattern and he would have been on a sub 24 pace. While he didn't get the time saved he wanted, remarkably enough he didn't give up and kept going, and he absolutely killed it in Island 3. All that was left was King Dice and the Devil. King Dice went extremely well, now giving Luigi a really good looking pace. The only thing that could go wrong at this point was getting the extremely time-consuming spider attack on the Devil. And with that, he finally did it. Cuphead's first 24 run had just been completed with a final time of 23:51. But that's not the end of the story. While Luigi decided to take a break from the game, Wolf kept playing with a very specific goal in mind. His objective? Claiming the world record in all 28 Cuphead categories. He started the grind on the 1st of August, and he decided that at the end of it all, he would try to beat Luigi's 23:51 run. This seemed a very daunting task at first, but surely enough, his total world record count kept increasing, and he was determined to get all, frequently going back to previous categories he had lost the record in. And on September the 6th, he was finally at 27 out of 28 records, only missing the all bosses regular legacy one. He started running the category again immediately after. His strategies were mostly unchanged, but he had a new route to use to his advantage in Isle 2. It was discovered that during the order, Baroness Bon Bon Bon, Wally Warbles, Jimmy the Great, Beppy the Clown, and Green Matchstick was faster than the previous route by approximately 4 seconds. Partially thanks to this, he got a new PB of 24 the same day. And just the day after, he too got on a really good run, except that this time luck was in his favor. After that, he kept going with his run until he reached King Dice. After the Domino fight, his stream crashed. He had a local recording locally, but his viewers were left wondering if he was able to finish his run, and if he got the record or not. About 3 minutes later, he announced in chat that the run had ended, and once his stream was back online, everyone was greeted by this screen. He did it! He beat Luigi's run by 6 seconds, getting a final time of 23:45, and that is where the world record stands today. Cuphead's speedrunning history is about continuous optimization. It took a little over a month to bring the time down from 35 to 25 minutes, but it took more than 8 months to lower the record to 24. And who knows what the future will hold for this game. Here is to Sub 23.